In this episode of Raising the Bar, we hear from Barbara Dawson. Barbara Dawson holds a bachelor's degree in education from the University of New Mexico. She has been married 43 years and homeschooled her 4 children through high school. Barbara has been involved with the community as a leader in a number of civic organizations, which include Toastmasters International, the National Association of Women Business Owners, and a local gardening group as a master gardener. 27 years ago, Barbara and her husband embarked on a direct sales business as a function of her husband's chiropractic practice using nutritional supplements. The knowledge she shares is a direct result of thousands of conversations and successful business practices she has established. Barbara teaches from experience and what works. Barbara teaches and coaches small businesses, startups, and established businesses a course called Authentic Communication through the Sales Process to help people communicate better and improve the know, like, and trust relationships in business. Barbara has also taught sales skills at UNM Anderson School of Management and CNM Ingenuity. Her fun hobbies include fermenting foods, gardening, knitting, and making sourdough bread. TKJE, Raising the Bar. Let's go. All righty. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Raising the Bar, TKJE podcast. I'm excited. We've got Barbara Dawson with us today. Entrepreneurs, listen up. This is going to be a good one for you. Barbara is in the business of actually helping business owners through teaching and coaching. And I'm excited to have her on the show today. Barbara, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ken. It's my pleasure to be here. I want to just, first of all, acknowledge you for the work you're doing for the small business owners and other people in the local community. I've seen you get out there and support and just give. So thank you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it. I
Sure.
appreciate it. It's definitely a group effort, and something that I'm passionate about is just helping people really figure out what it is. You know, business isn't for everyone, but those that are in it, we're in it. So entrepreneurs unite, entrepreneurs stand up. Well,
you bet.
Let's go ahead and jump right in.
Okay.
All right. So as far as business, what inspired you to start your business? What got all this going here?
Okay. So my business, Purple Mulch, in that business, I wear several hats.
Of course.
And it was like, how do I pull all that together? So I'm a teacher by training. For years, people have said to me, you should be a coach.
Okay.
And no, I don't want to be a coach. No, I'm coaching. No, what I'm doing is fine. But Purple Mulch came about as a way of really describing what it is that I do in the community, which I do teach and I coach and I support entrepreneurs and small business owners in getting traction as they're out there going in the world trying to make their business grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that many people don't really know how that happens. So that's how Purple Mulch came about. That was the inspiration for it. How can I make a difference? How many lives can I touch?
Wow, that's really awesome. And it's very important, right? To start with something that you believe in as you move forward.
Absolutely.
Well, through your business journey and on that business journey, how did you overcome some of the initial challenges and setbacks? You know, we all go through them and sometimes people quit, but how were you able to get past those challenges as you started your business?
Well, as I started Purple Mulch, when I speak with you about that, it's more my teaching authentic communication, teaching the sales process, coaching people through that. So some of the setbacks were things like, how do I really throw a wide net and see who my customer is? So that was sort of a setback initially, because I thought, I want to do this. I had a couple of people here or there. And then what happened is through a relationship that I had developed with an organization, they said, well, how would you like to come in and do a lunch and learn? Well, I said, okay, I can do that. Sure. I had no idea who was going to show up in that room. It was a freebie. It was a lunch and learn. Come in, sit down. I got to do what I do, which is what I love. And that really pushed me forward, because then from that, I had several people say, can you work with me? Can you work with my organization? So my initial setback of how do I find customers? How do I find people to work with? Really came out of a sense of giving what I have, giving it away.
Wow.
Does that answer your question?
It does. That's really awesome. And how it just expanded from there was really cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, on your journey, what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to turn their passion into a profitable venture, profitable business? It's one thing to have the passion and give it away, as you said, for free, but how can someone turn that passion into an actual business?
Well, what I think of oftentimes with people going into business, if you've ever read The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about you've got, I'm working for somebody else, or I work for myself, but then when you get to the other side of the cash flow quadrant is like, oh, how do I now have a business? Which means how do I not only work and get paid for what I'm doing, but how do I create other streams of income in that, have other people work with me and so forth? I think most people have a passion, like, I'm a great mechanic. I'm tired of paying all my money to the guy that owns this place, so I'm going to go in and start my own business. And they're great at fixing cars, but maybe they really don't know how to market. They don't know how to get those customers, and maybe they don't have the customer list from where they were. And that's where I see, creating the relationships, staying with the relationships, and seeing where they lead. Just like with me, having a relationship with this organization that says, come in and do a lunch and learn. And from that, then I got to grow my audience and grow my contacts, my database, if you will, of who I can serve.
Yep, I completely understand. It's you got to create that database and collect that information. Along those lines about the database and collecting information, what role does networking and building meaningful relationships play on your business journey?
Without it, I don't have a business, and I don't think many business owners do. I believe that it's more important to develop the relationships than anything else. People need to know, like, and trust. I'm using you like broadly, but they have to know, like, and trust us when we're in the market. Do they like hanging out with you? Do they feel like they're heard? Do they feel like they have value? And so that's where I go and hang out in the community. I've got a good friend of mine who still remembers, he said, when I moved to Albuquerque, Barbara, you are the first person I met. And it was at a networking event. We've known each other now probably 15, 20 years. Wow. But he still remembers how we met. And does he refer business to me? Absolutely. Do I refer business to him? Absolutely. And without that know, like, and trust that develops when you're in a relationship with people, that doesn't happen. In fact, Ken, I remember when you and I met recently at 1 Million Cups, it was like, I know you. Why do I know you? Oh, yeah, I met you at a networking event ages ago. Yeah. And I remembered your goal of what you wanted to do, and now you're doing it. Good for you.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you so much. It's definitely beneficial. Know, like, and trust. I really like that, right? Know you, yes, like you, and trust you. I always tell people you're selling you. In many situations, you're selling you. You are a brand, and however way you want that brand to lay out, that's totally up to you, but you're selling you. So, yes, Barbara, I definitely love that. And I encourage people to pay attention to who they're networking with and their goals as they do it. All right. So through business, we run into issues. We got to make left turns and right turns. Many people call it pivot. Can you highlight a time when you had to pivot your business model and how you executed that transition successfully?
As a coach, I did a lot of work one-to-one. I would meet someone, we would do a discovery that say, man, how can I work with you? And so we would work together. The pivot was in developing relationships. I actually got connected with an organization here, an educational group here in the Albuquerque area. They were looking for someone to come in and train entrepreneurs, small business owners, people like that. And they said, well, you can teach authentic communication. Come on and do that. So when I started working in groups, I liked doing one-on-one. I liked having it, hands-on, so I can walk up, put you with somebody else in the room, kind of listen in, hear what you're doing well, and then walk over to the next people. So one of the big pivots was learning how to do hybrid meetings. That was huge for me because what I was doing is being of service. And I remember the first time I did a hybrid meeting, I expected like 10 people in the room, maybe 4 people online. It was 10 people online, 4 people in the room. And I went, whoa, boy, how are we going to do this? And thank goodness for Zoom. Zoom has become a very dear friend of mine through this whole pandemic. It's become a great friend. So I knew Zoom well enough that I thought, okay, I set up the room so I could see the Zoom screen from the front of the room. So I was talking to the people on Zoom and the people in the room. And the one thing I did not do that I wished I had done is I would have gone into the rooms. When people are in breakout rooms, as the host, I could have gone into the room and I could have then been there in person with them. And I didn't. So if I had it to do over again, that was a pivot that, okay, got the shift in more online than in person. But then when we were doing the breakouts, I was just kind of sitting there going, what are they saying? What are they doing? And then, like I say, about an hour in, I went, oh, go into the breakout. I can do this. So that was a pivot, being aware of the technology, being aware of how I normally work and doing that work even in this virtual world.
Well, I'm kind of curious now, because many people, we human nature to go back to where we were, what we're comfortable with. Being you had to pivot at that time, are you sticking with the adjustment? Or do you find yourself going back to, because now it doesn't matter, we can meet in person. Do you find yourself going back to strictly in person, or have you been able to stick with that adjustment?
You know, I don't like change much. And so I much prefer being in person. I much prefer that in a classroom style setting. However, I'm on several networking groups that are like based in Australia, based in Ireland, based in, places not in New Mexico, which is where I'm from. And I do want to do an all virtual authentic communication course. What I haven't done is put the date on the calendar.
Oh,
and that's all it's going to take for me to get there. Then I'll know more, which I like better, but I really am a people person. I mean, I like to touch people and, tap them on the shoulder and good boy and well done. And
it helps, right? It helps to get the communication through. So fantastic. Well, Barbara, thank you so much. I just have a couple more questions for you, for our listeners. Can you give our listeners, let's say, one piece of advice, business advice that has stuck with you on your business journey that you'd rather be a phrase or a saying or just something, one piece of advice that you can give, a nugget to our listeners as they travel on their journey?
I can't say this is something I've had forever and ever, at least not consciously, but probably within the last 3 years, I have said, just say yes. When an opportunity shows up, just say yes, because I've seen huge shifts in what I do and how I do it by saying yes. Can I give you an example of this?
Absolutely.
So I mean, in my business, one-on-one, meeting people, networking and all this, I got the name of somebody from the university here that has a sales center. And I went to coffee with them just to find out what do you do? How do you do it? And found out that they send their students out to sales competitions. So there are like universities all get together, come to one place, do role plays. They know ahead of time what company they're representing in the role play, what company they're selling to, and they have these competitions. And I said, I had no idea that they do that. Yeah, it's fascinating. And so sitting there talking to this man, and I'm just being Barbara, and I'm asking questions and I'm listening and I'm recreating, I'm asking more questions, I'm getting clarification, I'm doing what I do. And at the end of the conversation, he says, how would you like to coach some of our students to go to this sales competition? I said, that just say yes. I went, sounds like fun to me. I'd love to. And so I've been doing that for about 2 years. And from that experience, then it's like other doors open up for me and I go, just say yes.
Wow.
And walk through the door.
Well, I'm kind of curious. So along those lines of just say yes, which I completely get, understand, and agree with. But then you have those opportunities. Are there parameters that you may follow? In other words, before someone decides to just say yes into every opportunity or, get rich quick thing or whatever the case may be, right. Along those lines, can you help our listeners understand on what are the things that we should definitely work to just say yes to?
I can speak from my point of view.
Okay.
Ken, if you and I were, I mean, this is what happened with us. We were sitting there at a 1 million cups, we're chit-chatting, we're talking, and I hear that you have this podcast that you do. And you say, would you like to be on my podcast? Why would I say no? Of course I'll be on your podcast. You know, it's good for you. It's good for your audience. It's good for me. It's maybe name recognition. If I'm out in the world and I'm talking to someone and they're saying, so here's an example I haven't quite said yes to yet.
Okay.
Maybe you can give me some advice on this. I
All
keep getting this call from somebody saying, hi, I'm so-and-so with such and such organization out of California. You and so-and-so know each other through LinkedIn, and they're going to be putting together a book. We're wondering if you would like to be one of the collaborative authors in this book.
Wow.
So I go, I know it's a good idea to say, oh yeah, I've written a book. And I know it might be a good idea to say, yes, I collaborated on this book, but I don't really know anything about the individual. So there's a part of me that says, say yes, take the interview. You can always say, no, I really don't want to be a writer on your book. Maybe it's not a freebie of, yeah, come just write and then we'll publish it. Maybe it's, oh yeah, well, you have to pay who knows what to be one of the authors. So what would you do in a case like that, Ken? What would you say?
So for me, I knew someone that went through that process, and for the longest time, the statement was, I wrote a book, is what they were saying, is I wrote a book. And I thought, that's really cool. And as a speaker, as I developed in my speaking career, I noticed that every speaker had a book. And then I found out that, the individual, they didn't actually write the book. It was collaborative, which is cool. But the term was, I wrote a book, and it kind of deflated the words that they were using. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing, but just the way they were using, I wrote a book.
Right.
Was slightly deflating. Like you wrote, half a chapter in a book, or you wrote a chapter. But in your case, it would be a matter of, who are the other individuals? What is the book about? Is it about what you do? Is it about your values, right? Do they hold the same values? So when an outsider reads the entire book, what is your contribution? And then what am I going to be getting out of the entire book? And is it something that makes sense, is actually something that you believe in, right? In your brand.
Right.
And so those are the things that I would ask. For me, I just decided to figure out how to write my own book. I just felt better doing it that way, because when I say I wrote a book, Ken Jackson wrote a book.
Yes.
And that was some of the major differences. So I would do that kind of investigation. But Barbara, I truly believe that every person has a book in them, because we've all been blessed with different stories. So in your case, I would say figure out your message and just write your own book.
Well, I appreciate that. I've actually taken steps toward that. I think the same woman I do from 1 Million Cups on You Doing, who does writer stuff. And I took an all-day workshop from her, and I've never written a book. I've never even thought about, I'm going to write a book. But she had this all-day thing, and I thought, what the heck? It was a Friday or a Saturday or some day, and I went, day looks clear, cross it out, I'm going to do this. And so when I got on, I said, I've never done this before. What do I do? She goes, just talk it out. Get your phone, start speaking the message, and then, send it to a word processing. And I went, oh, all right. So I didn't worry about the structure. I didn't worry about, is it organized? And so I've actually started doing that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's, one day's work can't be called a book, but it's 1 day's work.
That's really awesome. If you figure out what you want to utilize the book for, it sounds a little silly, but there's a purpose for writing it and what you're going to leverage it for. It means a lot. And then it helps with understanding how deep you want to go with the book. Right. And everything else. So that is really awesome to hear. I just really love the story, love the work that you do. It's been a blessing knowing you and everything that you're doing. I've appreciated the advice. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, how can our listeners get in touch with you just for advice, or to, contribute to what you're doing, or even become a client? How can they get a hold of you?
I mean, you can always go to my website, purplemulch.com. That's Purple, M as in Mary, ULC as in cat, H.com. Like, you know, I'm a master gardener, so purple mulch, I have people call me and say, do you sell mulch? Is purple better? No, I don't sell mulch. I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher, and I mulch people. So it's like I see myself hugging them protecting them so that they can grow. And purple is just a great color.
Awesome.
So purplemulch.com. You can reach me there. You can text me at barbara@purplemulch.com. And I'd love to have a conversation and make it all about you, Mr. and Mrs. Listener out there.
Awesome. Barbara, thank you once again. I appreciate your time, everything you do. Listeners, entrepreneurs, this is something that you need. You know who to contact. You know what you need to do. So make that call, send email, whatever you got to do to get your business going. This is our time.
Let me add one more thing.
Go ahead.
Going to be doing a workshop for creatives. Okay. Many times creatives, I mean, they've got a business, they're selling their wares, they're selling their art, they're selling their creativity, and they're really good at that, but maybe they don't know how to market it. So I'm going to be doing on November 11th, I'm going to be doing a workshop called Beginning Communication, Authentic Communication for the creatives. And they can go, text me if they're interested, or email me rather if they're interested, and I can send them a link for that.
All right. Well, there it is. Fantastic. Well, I look forward to all the success that you have coming to you.
Thank you.
It's been a blessing. Listeners, thanks again. We look forward to talking at you in the next episode. Have a blessed day. DKJ